Today, we're looking at how you can make meat raviolis.
Mouth-watering family recipes, easy-to-make meals, humor and faith fill the inspiring show Dano on the Counter. Born with only half a spine, Dano Burkhardt was never supposed to be able to hold his head up. Despite countless surgeries, a stroke, leg amputations, and kidney transplants, Dano developed a contagious love for life. Join Dano as he shares his easy-to-make dishes and the hope that keeps him pushing forward.
For raviolis, you're going to need 2 cups all-purpose flour, 3 large eggs, 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, 1 pound of ground beef, 1 package of frozen chopped spinach, and Parmesan cheese. Being able to reach things is always an obstacle, especially when shopping. I always try to plan ahead to see where I think things might be, but they seem to always move them on me.
And the spinach is at the very top. So,
this one caught me by surprise. I usually find it on like the bottom shelf, but this time it's on the top. So we'll have to wait on the kindness of a stranger to help us out. Once we're able to get our ingredients, we're well on our way. Selecting the right cheese for our ravioli is important. You can buy the Parmesan out of the can, but that stuff's no good. Who knows what's in that stuff? So always go to the deli and pick out the best ones I can find.
Hi, my name is Dad Dick,
And I'm Aiden. We're the 5th generation of Dick's Home Care.
and our family is here for your health.
If you're considering a lift chair, call or stop in and see us at Dick's Home Care. Our chairs come in a wide variety of fabrics and finishes. We even have chairs that are able to be closer to your wall in case you have a small space.
Dick's Home Care, Central Pennsylvania's leader in mobility products.
Impact Productions, a multi-layer technology company providing on-site, online, and in-studio video services. Contact Impact Productions to capture your story.
All right, guys, welcome back into the kitchen. And today we're gonna do our raviolis. I don't know if you guys remember or not, but one of the first videos I ever did on the counter was making my family's recipe of a ravioli. Now this ravioli recipe goes back a long ways. I remember doing this as at my grandparents' house, actually, as a young kid. We would always make pierogies for Christmas Eve, and the leftover dough we would make ravioli with. So it's just a simple pasta dough. The only difference is with pierogi dough is that you would add a little bit more water to it. So we're going to start off with 2 cups of flour. Get that in there. Got this handy dandy mixer that makes things a lot easier when you're making dough. You can also do this by hand if you want, but this makes it a lot faster. Then you're going to add just a teaspoon of salt. I'm not a big salt guy. If you know anything about me, with my medical history and all that, we don't mess around with too much salt. And then 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. And then you're going to add to the flour and that mixture, you're going to add 3 eggs. So We're gonna lock this down. We're just gonna start slow and get that kind of mixing together. And now, this is the important part. You don't want to mess this part up because you'll have a mess. You have to start all over. So just 3 eggs. I think we did it. Get it out of there as fast as you can. No shell in your ravioli. That'd be one of the worst things, is having somebody bite into a ravioli and find a shell. And then one more. All right. A little bit of egg white in there. We're good to go. And we're just gonna let this mix for a little bit. You're gonna let this go for probably 5 to 10 minutes. Let it mix. Check it. Get that flour mixed in there. Scrape the sides. Make sure that all gets incorporated in there. What you want it to do is you want it to form a ball, a dough ball, and it'll gather up all that flour from the outsides, and then pretty soon you'll have just a ball of dough and a clean bowl, and that's really what you're looking for. So like I said, you're gonna let this knead for a little while until it all comes together, and just keep it mixing together. And eventually, when it all comes together, we're going to take it out and we're going to knead it. But you should almost have a clean bowl with no flour left once it's all been mixed. So let's take a look at it here. Now if it's not sticky enough, you can add a little water to it. And once you get a nice, good dough ball here, we're going to take the dough out and we're going to knead it by hand by a little bit. You can do it right on the counter. It's not going to hurt anything. And if you need to, like I said, you can add a little water. Or if it's too dry, if it's too wet, you can add more flour to it. So you're going to take this, like I said, you're going to knead it for about 3-4 minutes. And then you're gonna wrap it in cellophane. You could even put it in the fridge. Let it go for a couple hours in there. But you don't want it to dry out. If it dries out, it's not gonna be any good. So you just let this sit. Once you get a nice dough ball, and let it rest. And while it's doing that, we're gonna make the filling. So come back in a few minutes and we'll get the filling for our raviolis going. We'll see you soon. All right, guys. So now that dough is resting, we're gonna go ahead and make our filling for our ravioli. So we're gonna use some ground beef without making it slide off. And we're just gonna brown this and chop it up real small. And this will take a few minutes. And it'll cook down. Now, when it comes to raviolis, you can put whatever you want in them. I know a lot of people put just some ricotta cheese and garlic in them. seafood. People get crazy and put lobster and crab and things like that. I've seen mushrooms. I've seen sausage. I mean, anything that you like to eat that you think is going to be a good filling. Just plain cheese is good too. But we've always done just a beef one, and we actually add a little bit of spinach to it as well. So we'll go ahead and brown this up. And we'll get it mixed together, put our filling together. All right, guys, as you know, through the magic of television, we got ourselves a larger skillet, and we got some cooked ground beef already drained, ready to go. So our filling is about a third of the way done now. We're just gonna finish cooking this up. We're gonna take it off the heat, let it cool, and then we're gonna add our Parmesan and our spinach to it. We'll take it off the heat. Now, it's what we bought at the store, as you saw earlier, with a lot of help from a stranger. We got our spinach. So we want to get as much moisture out of this as we can, because we don't want a soggy ravioli on the inside. Obviously we're going to boil it, but we don't want it soggy on the inside. And this is a personal preference thing too. You can do whatever you'd like, as little as much. If you don't like spinach, leave it out. We've always just kind of done it, so that's what we do. So I'm going to put some of that in there. Then I'm going to add our ground beef. Then we're going to mix this all together. Sometimes you just got to use your hands, break it up. Because you don't want somebody to get a big old chunk of just spinach. Unless you're Popeye. Then you'd have all the spinach. Now, my brother, when he makes these, he puts like 80% cheese. Hardly any spinach. So, again, it's up to you guys what you want to, how you want to fill them. So add Parmesan to this. Hands are greasy. I can't even open it. It's a good day to wear black, right? Flour, Parmesan cheese. So we're just gonna sprinkle some of this in here. Just a good coating. Break that up. And that's it for the filling. All right, so now we got our dough. It's been rested. We have our filling. And now we're just gonna roll our dough out and cut our raviolis. The deal is that you want it thin though. Nobody wants just a doughy ravioli. They want a thin ravioli. So use those forearms, because you're not using your legs, you're using your arms. So you want to just stretch this dough out as thin as you can get it without it ripping. As you can see, we're getting pretty thin here. Now you can do this until you get it as thin as you want. But like I said, you don't want it to rip. So you gotta be careful. You don't go too thin. And you don't want it to rip when you fill it, because then everything will just fall out when you boil it. So we have our dough ready. And to cut it, you can buy a fancy ravioli cutter, you can buy the trays and all that, but a regular glass works just as well. So you're gonna cut it, and you're gonna get your little circles or little rounds out of it. As you can see, this is starting to tighten up again, so we're gonna take it, form it in another ball, knead it again, roll it out, and make more. And then you're gonna take your spoon or fork, get some of your meat mixture, and then you're just gonna fold it over. Once you fold it over, just crimp the edges. You might need a little bit of water sometimes to crimp it, but if you press hard enough, it should form pretty well. Now then you have your ravioli. You put your little crimp in it. And then you have, oops, a little piece of filling there. You have your ravioli. All right, guys, so welcome back. We got our raviolis made here. We got them rolled out, got them filled. They're all crimped. We've got a pot of water, almost coming to a rapid boil. We've got a little bit of salt in there. But again, like I said, I'm not a big salt guy to begin with, so I don't like to add salt to many foods. But so we'll get these, as soon as this water's comes to a hard boil here, we'll go ahead and plop these guys in here. Of course, that's going to bring the temperature down a little bit, but it'll come to another boil here. And we'll let them cook probably about 8 minutes, something like that. You'll be able to see when they're done. They'll turn like a white color, and they'll all be floating to the top, and that's when you know that they're done. And then when these are done, we'll mix them with a meat sauce or a marinara sauce, whatever you prefer. In a later episode, we'll be making my own meat sauce, so we'll have that, and that's usually what I put on this. It's another recipe from my dad, so we'll have that. But anything, even store-bought sauce, whatever. But if you're gonna go through all this work to make them yourself, you probably want to make your own sauce. It's just one of those things that if you're gonna make them for a special occasion or what have you. Now, sometimes we take them and we'll put them in a casserole, and then you'll layer them with the sauce, and then cover them with cheese, more Parmesan. You can even put some mozzarella or something like that on top of them, and finish them in the oven once they're boiled. You don't want to put them in the raw dough like that. But if you want to do that, it makes a great dish again to take somewhere. If you're going to an event or something like that, or going to somebody's house, you can bring a pan over and just heat them up there. So we're just going to keep an eye on these and watch them boil. Keep an eye on the time here. And we'll, as soon as they're done, we'll toss them and we'll eat them. While these are cooking, why don't y'all meet me in the living room, and we'll have a quick Dano talk about something inspiring that God's laid on my heart for you this week.
Made by Vogel is a father and son business that produces high-quality handmade wooden products such as cutting boards, bowls, bottle stoppers, and more. Products for sale can be found on their Etsy site or in downtown Altoona at the Clay Cup. You can't go wrong buying from Made by Vogel.
Hi, my name is Dad Dick,
And I'm Aiden. We're the 5th generation of Dick's Home Care.
And our family is here for your health.
One of the biggest benefits we have here at Dick's Home Care is the Bruno stair lift. Basically, the Bruno stair lift is built right here in the USA. It is constructed of aluminum track with steel gear rack. This machine is reliable and they back it with their 100% warranty lifetime.
Dick's Home Care, Central Pennsylvania's leader in mobility products.
Hey guys, thanks so much for joining me here in the studio today. I just want to share with you guys one of the most impactful stories that I've ever been through in my life with you guys today, this morning. So when I was 9 years old, I was actually in a house fire. And for you that are just tuning in, no, that's not where I lost my legs. That's not where my legs got burned up in a fire or anything like that. No, I was, of course, born with spina bifida and lost my legs at a young age. Those who have known me or know that watched the show knew that already. But I was in a house fire when I was 9. I was actually in elementary school, and my mom ran a daycare inside our house. And she had went to go pick up one of the other, what do they call them, kids? One of the kids that she was babysitting. She went and picked them up, and my brother had missed the school bus, and he was at home with me. And my mom's like, hey, I'm just gonna run and pick up this kid that I have to babysit for today, and I'm gonna take your brother with me. I was at home sick with a cold, and I was like, all right, I get to stay at home, watch Price is Right, Different Strokes. This is gonna be great, you know. Mom made me some juice and gave me some toast, and I was like, this is great, this is awesome. Got the comics ready to go. And Mom's like, I'll be back in like 20 minutes or whatever. So they leave, and I'm home, and I'm sitting there, and we had a wood stove in our house. I lived out in the state of Washington at the time, and it was the middle of November, so it was getting pretty chilly out, and we had a fire going in our wood stove. And as I'm looking over at the wood stove, I see where we had our paper box, where we kept all of our shredded newspaper and kindling for the fire. And I looked at it, and I saw like some little embers that were on top of the box. And my brother had just loaded up the fireplace before they left, and I knew that he had just put new wood in it, but I don't think he noticed that there was embers there left on the kindling box. So I'm sitting there, and I look at it, and I'm like, oh, well, I should, put this out, obviously. It's going to catch the paper on fire. So I crawl off the couch, and I have a pillow that I pull off the couch with me, and I'm dragging it over to the kindling box. And as you guys remember, I wasn't really using my wheelchair that much at this age. I was more crawling everywhere I went around, especially around the house. I would use it I would crawl pretty much everywhere I went. So I would crawl on the ground, and I pulled this pillow with me, and I went over and I start hitting this box. And as I'm hitting this box and hitting these embers, it starts the paper on fire. So it actually makes it worse. Of course, me 9 years old, I had no idea. But pretty soon the whole paper box was on fire. And then pretty soon the whole wall was on fire, and then the entertainment center was on fire, and the rug was on fire, and it's going up the wall, and I'm like, scared to death here. I'm crawling around the house, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get out of the house now that the house is on fire. And I'm crawling around, and I'm going room to room, and I'm trying to find windows that are open or windows that I can reach. And of course, being on the ground, I couldn't reach any windows, and I was too short to reach the doorknobs. And of course, most of the doors in the house were too heavy for me to even open on my own. So I was crawling around the house, and I'm going room to room, and the house is starting to fill up with smoke. And I go to the front door, and we had like a little bay window, and I open the window, and I'm yelling out, trying to find a neighbor or somebody walking in the street to help me. And nobody comes to rescue me. And I crawl back in the family room, and by the time I get in there, of course, the ceiling and everything is on fire. The whole house is full of smoke. And it's just like a thick layer. You can't even see pretty much the ceiling at that point. But luckily for me, I was on the ground, so I was below the smoke. And I'm crawling around and trying to find a way to get out, and I couldn't find a way to get out. And I'm like, well, elementary school, you learn to call 911 in an emergency. And I'm thinking for a second, I'm like, should I call 911? Because is this really an emergency? Because I knew if I called 911 and, the cops came or the fire trucks came, and I might get in trouble, right? So that was the first fear I had as a little kid, was like, all right, I know I'm not supposed to call this number unless it's an emergency, but I'm pretty sure this is an emergency. So I go to the phone, and it was up on the coffee table, and I couldn't even reach it. I had to pull the cord down on the ground and dialed. Actually, I called my neighbor first. And I called the neighbor, and their line was busy. This is back in the day when they didn't have call waiting or anything like that. I'm like, who could you be talking to? Like, my house is on fire, And finally, I hung up the phone with them, or tried to get through them, and I hung up, and then I called 911, and I talked to the operator, and she's like, what's your emergency? And I'm like, well, I'm in a house, I'm all alone, the house is on fire, and I don't have any legs, and I can't get out. And she's like, well, you have to get out. I'm like, I understand I have to get out, but I don't know how to get out because I can't reach the doors, I can't open the windows, I don't know how to get out, I'm trapped inside. And she's like, well, you got to try your best to get outside. Well, I was crawling around the house still trying to find a way to get out. She told me not to hang up with her, just leave the phone off the hook, and I'm crawling. And of course it's getting hotter and hotter in the house, and the smoke is getting pretty intense. And I go back to the back door, and I'm like, I should try to get out the sliding glass door. I'm thinking that's going to be the easiest door for me to get out. And I go to the family room in the back patio there with our sliding glass doors, and I'm reaching at this latch, and it's one of those pull latches that if you pull it out, of course it locks, and you flick it in or push it in, and it unlocks the door. And I'm trying to reach it, and I can't reach it. And I'm trying as hard as I can to reach it, and I still can't reach it. So I end up like propelling myself up with one arm, and I'm just trying as hard as I can to flick open this lock. And finally, after like third or fourth time, it finally unlocks. Now I got the door unlocked, now I need to open it. So then, I'm just a little kid, 9 years old, no legs, obviously. I'm pretty small at this point, and I'm trying to push this heavy glass door open. And like I'm pushing as hard as I can, and it won't budge, and then I go down to the one end, and I'm pushing real hard on the bar in the middle, and finally it opens up a crack, and then I finally slip my fingers in there, and I slide the whole door open, and I'm able to get outside. Hey guys, I'm going to stop the story here for today, but I'm going to go check on those raviolis in the kitchen, and I'll tell you the rest of the story next week. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining us today on Dano on the Counter. Got our crew back again. We're going to give it a shot here, our raviolis, and hopefully we'll see you guys next week on Dano on the Counter. If you have questions or comments about the show or topics you would like me to speak about, please reach out to me, Dano@DanoBurkhart.com. And also check out the website, DanoBurkhart.com, for all the previous episodes.
Dick's Home Care can help you stay mobile. Dick's offers a full line of scooters to help with mobility both inside and outside your home. Take your scooter with you wherever you go with a scooter lift from Dick's. They are available for most vehicles. If standing or sitting is becoming difficult, a lift chair from Dick's will make life easier. There are many styles and sizes to choose from. And Dick's honors warranties and service on what we sell. Dick's Home Care, Central Pennsylvania's leader in mobility products.
Hi, my name is Dad Dick.
And I'm Aiden. We're the 5th generation of Dick's Home Care.
And our family is here for your health.
Purify 03 is the simple, effective way to clean your CPAP or BiPAP. It provides hospital-grade sanitation, killing 99.99% of bacteria and germs with the touch of a button. Everything you need comes in one affordable kit for just $1.90. It's available exclusively at Dick's Home Care, Central Pennsylvania's leader in home medical equipment.